Alright fellas, here we're back in another Pokemon Conspiracies video. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a minute since I've done one of these, but we're doing them again. I don't know, these videos don't do like terribly well, especially not compared to Masters videos, stuff like that. I don't care though, because these videos are fun. I love theorizing about stuff. Like it's just such a fun concept to me. This is nice. So, Pokemon Conspiracies, we're back at it. First one is Claire is corrupt. Lazy, talentless fraud. Oh, buddy. You meet Claire Blackthorn Gym, Bless user Dragon types in Gen 2 and 4. She doesn't show up until Team Rocket's dealt with. She starts boasting that she can compete with even the Elite Four. I think she's intended to be a fraud all along by the devs rather than just a bragging jerk like Blue. She acts immature, like an immature sore loser like Whitney, but at least the latter had the decency to quickly pull herself together and hand over the badge. Claire insists that you didn't deserve her badge and invents a bogus test that's not only immature, but also completely unprofessional and unlikely to be done by a qualified gym leader. Then you go to Dragon's Den, answer a few trivial, easy questions, and she's stupid enough to make a fool of herself in front of you and the master by admitting she failed the test. Okay. The master rightfully blackmails her, threatening to tell on her cousin. For the record, the test includes the question if strategy training or cheating is more important, which means it's implied that she values cheating above all else and is completely devoid of basic trainer knowledge to the point that a 12-year-old can effortlessly pass the quiz. She flunked. Her team consists of Dragonair and Kingdra. Gyarados replaces one in Heart Gold Silver. Pretty much all the important trainers in her games have varied different Pokemon. Suggesting they put time and effort into getting different members from different places to cover each weakness, and even the traditions and conventions dictate they can't be type generalists. Magikarp, Gyarados, Dragonair, Horsey, on the other hand, can just be found around her hometown or in caves. I guess. Kingdra also can only requires an item, which highlights Claire's ambitious yet lazy nature and coasting on and being a Nepo baby. As for the Gyarados, let's remember that she doesn't show up until the end of the Rocket plotline. She thinks she's so powerful it doesn't lift a finger to fight the Rockets. Her cousin is instrumental in dismantling them, and one would think she has at least helped them, only if only to get the plaudits for being a hero. Why doesn't she? She's being because she's lazy and corrupt, and just like to capture her and using Magikarp and use the Rocket's radio waves to forcibly evolve it. And ooh, that's a theory. Use the radio waves to evolve a Magikarp into her Gyarados. We all know she made a deal with them. And for all we know, she made a deal with them. Okay. Also, she's a much more fierce competitor than the usual laid-back gym leader, as well as immensely proud of her perceived abilities. It's established that gym leaders' Elite Four task is to test you, not beat you, which is why they hold back the first time and later come back with increasingly stronger teams. Claire's not the type to hold back or intentionally appear weaker than she is, so the team she puts out against you is really the strongest she's got, while others are actually stronger but intentionally hold back to test you. I think there's a lot that goes into this that could be... obviously, there's a lot of this that's like kind of... and not anecdotal evidence, but it's like it's evidence that can like easily be debunked, but like you look at it one way and you just perceive it that way, right? You're not perceiving all the angles. This thing here, team consists of 3 Dragonair, Kingdra, and a Gyarados, replacing one of them. Pretty much ultra important trainers have very different Pokemon need for specialists. Lance, her cousin, in the same game uses 3 Dragonites. That's not. I think if any, okay. Like, I get it, maybe, you know, we're thinking about lore here, but I think her having 3 Dragonites is just a premonition that Lance has 3 Dragonites. I think that's all that is, honestly. And then Kingdra, of course, is her ace, always has been. I think also Pokemon Masters kind of dismantles this theory. I mean, it could also support it, frankly, because she's not very strong in Pokemon Masters. I'm sorry, just to admit it, but, like, you know, she's not. But at the same time, it's like, you know, she does have... She's a strong enough gym leader. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, a lot of times these games don't really do too much to make the gym leaders look super strong. But at this, hold on, I want to actually look. Yeah, right here. Look at this. I mean, rematch, Fighting Dojo. She's got all these fellas, and then we look at her in the World Tournament. It's like she's got these Pokemon, and then the Type Experts Tournament, she's got all of these. Like, I don't know. I don't know about that. Talentless fraud. I think again that kind of dismantles it. All the unique Pokemon she's got here and the World Tournament, and like obviously clearly really strong, and the fact she does actually have, well, like, look at this. This is Lance's setup. This is Claire's. Of course, Claire's weaker than Lance, but still, like, she's got a Dragonite, she's got her own Dragonair there, she's got her Kingdra, she's got her rematch fight with her Dragonair still, but another Dragonite, Charizard, Gyarados, Aerodactyl, Kingdra, right? I mean, I don't think so. No, I don't think Claire's a fraud. Obviously, she's hot-headed. She's, you know, immature. I mean, whatever, but like, she's young. But she's a young prodigy. That's kind of the trope they're going for. That young prodigy doesn't really know, doesn't really know tact. I think that's more the thing that's with Claire. Why Gita sucked as a champion? Well, at least why her team sucked. The first battle, she doesn't battle to the best of her capability. I think it's because she's just doing a test of our abilities. After we become champion rank and battles as an Indigo Disc, the player's already proved why we were ranked, so she actually tries now. Greta. That's funny. I read this. It's Greta. But no, she says in the fight that she's utterly incapable of holding back. I don't know. It's a gameplay thing. I mean, no, I think Gita sucks as a champion because they can't make it a good team for her. They could have made her a very strong trainer and then said, oh, she was holding back. That's just a lore thing. But no, they said she was extremely strong and has that team. I'm sure in lore she's strong, but in gameplay she's not because she's a late gen. I say because she's a late gen fight. It's like, and then there's this funny little man. And then there's, yeah. Oh, she's not strong because, you know, she was a late game fight in one of the modern Pokemon games because, you know, people are noobs. And then we got this fucking team. This is a good team, by the way. Let's not get it twisted. This is a good team on its own, even if we don't consider Giratina. Whatever. Anyway. No, Gita just sucked because they can't design her team. Theory, let's go. Oh. Okay, well, let's dive, I guess. Are intended to be more or less considered remakes like Oras and Candace to the Mega Timeline. Let's see, I like me some timeline shenanigans. I know we all consider LGP to be baby games, but they are truly meant to take place in the universe, and the Oras set up as a Mega Timeline. In this world, it's the whole idea of the world that doesn't have Mega Evolution that Zinnia first hypothesized during the Delta episode for her reasoning of destroying the device that was going to open an artificial wormhole to the world without the means to defend itself from the meteorite, since Rayquaza can't Mega Evolve to destroy it due to Mega Evolution not existing. The implies she's referring to Emerald, which doesn't have it, as opposed to the world they live in the story of Mega Evolve Sapphire, which is Mega Evolution. The scene where she talks about this during the Delta episode. You know what? Let's look at that. Let's see. That's right. A Hoenn region that's almost exactly the one we live in. A world where maybe the evolution of Pokemon took a slightly different path. Pokemon where Mega Evolution is unknown. I honestly kind of forgot about that. But yeah, I mean, it does have the parallels as like tragedy. Yeah, it's tragedy for like hope for our world, tragedy for another. Right. That's kind of her whole thing. It's very interesting. Okay. Mega Evolution would have never existed if it weren't for AZ firing the ultimate weapon. People speculate this caused a split, but it's not confirmed whether it did. More, in our opinion, more treated as a parallel universe type of situation, like Universe 6 and 7, Dragon Ball Super, where certain things are different, like Saiyan's not being wiped out and whatever. Okay. Zinnia is an unreliable source at times. It's more or less true of an idea of a world without Mega Evolution, since we see Looker later in Oras, who lost all his memories. Also Annabelle. Annabelle, same thing. It doesn't seem to recognize that he is given the item that he gives to the player, which is an Autoknight. Looker, while not the strongest fighter, he's a pretty smart guy. Yeah, he would know what Mega Evolution is. This is a major thing back in the day, since he didn't know what was going on or who he even was. Whole memory lost plotline is explained later in Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, with Annabelle, yeah, as we mentioned, who is not 100% from the Mega Timeline, since she seems to be in the same situation as Looker, where they were snatched from their world by an Ultra Beast, Guzzler to be precise, I think, and are considered fallers. That's why they fell from the wormholes and lost their memories. You don't believe that the whole they aren't from our world thing yet? Yeah, she's definitely not. Certainly. Funny enough, Lucamine's husband had something similar happen to him, caused him to lose his memories and stuff. Sum it up, it's told us that there's a world where Mega Evolution doesn't exist, and the events of the game that were remade still happen like usual, otherwise known as the mainline timeline, and that there's the Mega Timeline games where Mega Evolution exists. Yeah, we know this. There's the Mega Split and the non-Mega Split. How's this leading to Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee? So this is done to keep the integrity of the original games that don't have Mega Evolution gimmicks relevant while still adding to their lore with new things. I mean, I can see why people like think this stuff at the same and all that, and like obviously again Zinnia is like nodding to it and stuff like that, but at the same time I feel like they're mostly just trying to use it as a reference to the fact that these games exist and not necessarily as something that's like not something that's meant to be like taken so seriously. Like I feel like people are over explaining it almost. It's like AZ fired the ultimate weapon, created Mega Evolution. Like yes, that's an in-universe fact. But people also want to say AZ fired the ultimate weapon, caused a timeline split. There's a timeline without Mega Evolution and timeline with it. This implies that the Great Kalos War still happened in both timelines, stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. Of course, this theory goes into it just being parallel universes, not related to the ultimate weapon, but, you know, it is. I don't know. It's a Pokemon game. It's not like the Zelda timeline. And even then, Zelda timeline, a lot of people try and over-explain that. Anyway. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. These games are funny as it sounds. They're akin to ORAS, and you think they're beat. They are beat for what makes it fit well. And whatever. What if Pokemon Yellow had Mega Evolution in the games? You get a starter that doesn't evolve. Your rival gets a starter that does evolve, unless it starts as a weak mon like your starter. Team Rocket Trio are in the game like Yellow, but they are a bit more fleshed out, if you want to call it that. They appear far more frequently, usually to point you in the way to go or not to go. Playthrough Kanto, the exact same main story, with small things being added, lore and shortcuts that allow you to not have to backtrack like ORAS. You even get a cameo from Alola and Kalos. Well, Kalos. I guess Mega Evolution. Shalor Sable. Okay. Alola's Mina. It's had to be intentional since it was funny enough lines up with X and Y. There was an NPC who mentions Blue being in Kalos at one point. Oh, I didn't even know that. Really? Oh, interesting. Smell you later when you live. Okay, well, that's cool. I didn't even know that. That's actually interesting. For Alola, you meet an important character from the other region in Mina, who is visiting Kanto from Alola. This is really similar to Looker appearing in ORAS, despite first debuting in Sinnoh, obviously under completely different situations. But still worth mentioning. You can use Mega Evolution, which kind of speaks for itself. Even your rival is a Mega Evolution in the main story. Yes, Trace, friendly rival of all people, is a Mega Evolution. As I said, this is basically just what if Pokemon Yellow had Mega Evolution, which kind of makes it apart from the Mega timeline, as ORAS was more or less the same thing, with the ideas of Mega Evolution lore being the divider for what makes the game different from Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Thank you for listening to my glorified TED Talk. I mean, yeah. I don't think this is much of a theory. I think it's just true. I mean, if you're a timeline enthusiast, I mean, yeah, literally all you need to say is, oh, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee have Mega Evolution, and they are different from Yellow. Like, yeah. There you go. That's all you need to explain. Like, it's not as I mean, they say it's as if Pokemon Yellow had Mega Evolution or whatever, but I mean, granted, the main characters are different. It's not Red and Blue, or I mean, I guess then it's meant to be Ash and Gary and Yellow, but whatever. You know, it's Trace and Elaine / Chase, right? And then of course you've got Archer in the game with Giovanni instead. Like it goes back into that where it's like they explained it here as being like parallel universes that have slight differences, where it's like, obviously, the major difference is having Mega Evolution, but also, like, compare Yellow and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Obviously, again, we're completely overthinking this. Obviously, it's just they built the game. Mega Evolution was the thing of still being in Gen 6 and 7. LGP is a Gen 7 game. They put Mega Evolution in it. That's all there is to it. That doesn't really need more explaining, but, you know, taking that aside, actually wanting to over-explain it, it's just like you've got this game and you you got the game here, and it's in universe very different because, again, Archer's in the game, right, with Giovanni. The Team Rocket do a trio, whatever, they're in the game, right? The world's a little bit different. You know, you've got Meltan and Melmetal is a very big difference there. Again, you've got Mega Evolution, you've got completely new protagonists and rivals. Makes sense, right? And of course, it's still got Red and Blue, and it's got Green in it, right? It doesn't have Leaf, it's got Green. And well, I guess Yellow didn't even have a female protagonist, so it's, again, just another interesting thing there. So it's like, yeah, it's like these parallel universes that have slight differences. And this one, of course, Mega Evolution. So of course, if you're thinking about it, yeah, LGP does fall in the Mega Evolution timeline. Oh god, another timeline. Oh boy. Okay. With all the information I got on the internet, I came up with this timeline. I haven't played all the games yet. I'm not an expert. I only took games with a story. If you have a better idea, please suggest that timeline split isn't how many people think because of the weapon. It's because of time traveling in Legends Arceus. Original timeline is Red and Blue and Yellow and Gold, Silver, Crystal. Late Fairy timeline. Huh? This is a timeline? That's a lot of things in a timeline. Fairy timeline. I don't get it. I don't get it. Cool. Mew plus Poker. Ooh, yes, I love thinking about Poker. Like, this is the stuff I like, yes. Mew plus Pokerus DNA equals Mewtwo. Also, the Pokerus came from DEOXYS. This is like the ultimate, like, Pokemon Insurgents level fan theory, because the theory is basically, Insurgents runs off the theory that Pokerus is a virus created by DEOXYS, or like works around with DEOXYS, and that was a big part of that game. I like the idea of this though. I developed this theory on how Mewtwo was created, that the Mew embryo clone was used as the basis of Mewtwo, which was altered using DNA of Pokerus. I also think that DEOXYS is the very source of Pokerus, with fragments of its surviving viral DNA evolving and regressing into an actual virus. Pokerus enhances the growth of Pokemon. Mewtwo's biological obsession with battling is the expression of this as a full living thing, as opposed to a quasi-life of a virus. Pokerus itself is a virus. DEOXYS was mutated from a virus. There's a solid connection. DEOXYS' forms have major strengths coupled with serious drawbacks. Fuji's team probably wanted to combine that with Mew's infinite potential as the genetic template. Mewtwo's DNA as the Berserk gene causes an influx of physical strength that but causes the holder to go berserk and uncontrollable, as if the DNA infects the victim like a virus. Mewtwo has a vaguely hourglass body shaped like DEOXYS. In conclusion, Fuji wanted to experiment with the idea of combining two natural ultimate Pokemon to create an artificial ultimate Pokemon to surpass them both, and the combination ended up being very destructive in itself, with Mewtwo itself likely being tortured by its biological drive to fight and grow, granted by the Pokerus DNA. I mean, again, it's just more over-explaining. Like, we don't have to look into it that much, but I mean, this could make sense to me. I think one of the interesting things to also point out with this is, of course, it's not, again, let me just say, we're overanalyzing it. There is nothing here besides just gameplay and fun. But think about this. If we look back to the Gen 3 games, we've got Birth Island here. This is DEOXYS' island. And then you've got, what is it called? I forget what the island is called for Mew, but it's Faraway Island, isn't it? Faraway Island. So we've got these two islands here. And these are both event locations alongside whatever the Eon Island is, Aurora ticket thing with the Latios and Latios. But anyway, that island, whatever it is. But we have Birth Island here, which is DEOXYS' island, and then we've got Mew's whatever it is, wherever it is, but Faraway Island here, which is an island that has Mew. I'm very curious and very interested to think about maybe like what if, you know, this stuff is where both, like, you know, the scientists who wanted to create Mewtwo, obviously they got the Mew DNA from Faraway Island. What if one found Birth Island, found DEOXYS' triangle here, some stuff happened, maybe DEOXYS went rampant on them, left some DNA behind, you know, maybe it spread the Pokerus virus, and then, well, that's how they ended up getting that DNA and combined the both of them. I mean, granted, there's obviously a lot of stuff to go into that. It's like Pokerus is probably something at this point, you know, back when Mewtwo was first created, it probably was not very explored as a virus. Hell, I wouldn't even be surprised if Pokerus didn't exist yet, because maybe DEOXYS hadn't even landed yet, right? If we're going off the theory that DEOXYS is the like source of Pokerus, which I could very well see. I would love that to actually just straight up be true, because it makes sense. DEOXYS is the DNA Pokemon, or like, obviously, right? And then we've got this virus here from space. That would make sense. To me, that would make a lot of sense. But I would love the idea of like Mew basically its embryo genes being combined with Pokerus to create a completely unstable monster like Mewtwo. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that'd be an awesome thing to explore. Do I think it's true? Probably not. I think we're just looking into it too much. But I think it would be cool. Corsortico Inc. owns Blueberry Academy. Fuck, I don't have time for another one of these long ones. We'll think about that. Levels go down? Let's look at this one. For a while, I've been rationalizing the mechanic of leveling up in Pokemon by seeing it as what would normal physical exercise be for humans. By exercising every day, not only do you get healthier, but also stronger and capable of things you couldn't do before. Level 100 be the biological limit of a Pokemon's body can reach, just how our bodies eventually reach a limit when they realistically can't realistically surpass if we tried to be as strong as possible for whatever reason, which hardly happens, as it isn't necessary to go that far to be considered healthy or strong, or to have a good muscles unless you're in some sort of competition. Obviously, if you break your routine, you slowly get weaker until you're back at your starting point. If Pokemon levels follow the same logic, then when a Pokemon doesn't participate in battles for a while in Universe, their levels would drop with time. This would explain those seemingly impossible cases for a trainer has an unevolved Pokemon at a lower level than it requires to evolve. And no, but sure. They got to that level once, but for whatever reason, their training slowed down or stopped afterwards. For casual, random trainers, this can happen precisely because they're casual, but they can neglect their Pokemon's training a bit if they're busy and don't have a reason to reasonably get strong anyways. But for characters like Gym Leaders Elite 4, but I can only think of cases of right now where Champion Lance and Iris, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, there's no way Iris stopped training her Hydreigon. Nah. Anyway. This can be because of the trainers having multiple Pokemon beyond the ones they use in battle. They would change the members of their team from time to time. Maybe some trainers do it constantly, and all their Pokemon keep up with each other, but others do it for months after using the same team. While Pokemon at impossible levels, this logic would be that the evolved forms don't have to fight as much. As for why this is an awful mechanic, is it a mechanic in the games? Well, because it would be awful. Nothing very fun about the chance of your entire team being level 1 at the entrance of the league because you were busy for a few days. Yeah, no kidding. Duh. 60 upvotes is crazy. I don't agree with it, though. I mean, I could like see the realistic idea of this in the sense of, like, you know, not training your Pokemon, they lose levels, and that's why we've got a slacking that's like level fucking whatever level they are. I don't know. But that doesn't work for a lot of stronger trainers. It's just not it. That can't be it. I refuse to believe that Lance and Iris do not train their Pokemon enough to have them be fully evolved properly. Same with DEOXYS. Like, there's a lot of trainers in the game that have Pokemon, like a lot of important trainers that have Pokemon that are weaker than whatever their level cap is, or like a level evolution cap, and I just don't think this theory lines up with that. I think, again, it's just the game mechanic, looking a bit too much into it, but obviously, again, this whole thing is basically that. But no, I can't really see that. I don't really see Lance or Iris failing to train up like a lot of their aces or a lot of their strongest Pokemon, and that's the reason why their Pokemon are underleveled. I don't think that's really the best explanation for it. I think, could levels go down? Maybe, but I don't think that is an explanation in some cases like that. Megastones are dead Miniors. How long is this? Yeah, let's read this. Megastones are implied to pretty heavily be related to Minior. Both come from the stratosphere. Rayquaza eats both. The color... Rayquaza eats Miniors? I'm sorry, Rayquaza eats Miniors? Is this in Minior's Dex entry? Originally home in the atmosphere, hurdles to the ground, and Cubsy grows strong impacts are knocked out of its shell, born from mutated nanoparticles. Lives in the ozone layer, where it becomes food for stronger Pokemon. Wow. Where it tries to run away, it falls to the ground. Although its outer shell is uncommonly durable, the shock of falling to the ground smashes the shell to smithereens. It's dust in the atmosphere. The composition of dust determines the color of its core. It's possible it may survive if put in a Pokeball quickly enough. Wow. Place where Minior fall from this night sky are far and few between. Color of its core depends on the materials that made up the food it ate. Pokemon's born in the ozone. It falls to the ground. Wish will not. Okay. So, it's apparently, yeah, it is food for stronger Pokemon. So, yeah, Rayquaza could probably eat the damn thing. Okay. Anyway. Color schemes are similar. Mega Evolution animation even has a Pokemon coming out of a shell that looks just like a Meteor's Minior. Minior's Meteor, you mean? Then there's the question comes, assuming both are related, there's two possibilities. Either Miniors originated from the ultimate weapon, being discharged and animating some of the meteors it hit, while making others into Megastones, but that doesn't make sense. What differentiates two meteors for one to sprout life while the other becomes a crystal? It's magic, man. They could explain that very well. Just being magic. And why does Rayquaza just start eating Miniors that are probably harder to catch than the inanimate meteors that it assumingly would have eat before? Well, okay, well, let's just turn it back. Rayquaza doesn't, unless I'm mistaken. Hold on, let me read Rayquaza's. Oh, God. Let me read Rayquaza's late gen Dex entries. Was in the ozone layer, yeah. Said to live for hundreds of millions of years, legends remain of how it put rest the clash between. Fuck. Flies forever through the ozone layer, consuming meteoroids for sustenance. The many meteoroids in its body provide the energy it needs to mega evolve. Yeah, it doesn't eat mega stones. I mean, yes, it ate a meteorite, but it doesn't necessarily eat mega stones deliberately. It eats like energy charged meteorites. Not. It doesn't need to eat mega stones specifically. But anyway, Megastones are meteors caught in the blast. Rayquaza already used to eat them since much before the Ancient War, so it makes sense why it would become eager to bite down on the shiny little pearls that just appeared, since they look like tiny miniors or mini miniors. Also makes more sense that Rayquaza eating straight up rocks, and Rayquaza eating straight up rocks, since Minior clearly have abundant energy in their cores. So can asteroids and meteorites. Also would give credit to DEOXYS being born from Pokerust, caught in the ultimate weapon, since one Minior happening to cause the virus is more believable than it just conveniently being there in the atmosphere. Also, DEOXYS' little gem looks like a purple megastone without the DNA symbol, but still. I don't know if this is already widely discussed, but I tried to find references of what seems to be like a pretty easy link to make. Only place I found something was on one of Loxton's vids as a throwaway joke. This has been eating at me alive for a couple weeks, not finding anything, so I decided to post this. I like this because this diet makes more sense with this, but I add how if somehow the ancient weapon mutated them to be Megastones still in the atmosphere, they can be huge sizes of normal Miniors. Megastones are dead Miniors. That's our overarching theory here. I think I like the idea better that the ultimate weapon did create both Megastones and Miniors. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Minior. This is a good question to have. Born in the ozone layer. I mean, I don't know. Where was it? There's a lot that can go into that. It's like, do you think that Megastones were crystals that were formed underground once the ultimate weapon was fired, or do you think they were crystals that fell from the atmosphere when the ultimate weapon was fired? That's kind of what you're trying to believe, right? It's like, which one is like the real one that like works for you? I think Rayquaza eating the damn things makes a lot of sense because the Pokedex entry basically kind of confirms that. It eats things in the ozone layer, and Minior is food for bigger things in the ozone layer. Yeah, I think Rayquaza eats the damn things. And I could definitely see them having similar energy to Mega Evolution, you know, considering, again, maybe considering Rayquaza does eat meteorites and stuff like that to Mega Evolve. I do think Rayquaza could eat Miniors to Mega Evolve. That would be a little terrifying, but I think it could happen. But also at the same time, I mean, that's not really too outlandish to think of. I mean, Sableye eats gems. It tried to eat Terapagos in the latest Horizons episode, so that's just something to consider. I don't know. I think that one's a little bit more open for me. Megastones are being dead Miniors? I don't know. I think one Pokemon just being the source of Mega Evolution, like Mega Evolved Stones, and then themselves not necessarily being super... Yeah, that's kind of my main thing with that, is like these Megastones cause other Pokemon to, like, you know, go through Mega Evolution, releases energy, blah, 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 right? But Miniors themselves don't undergo that same type of transformation. I mean, you know, they have their shells and stuff like that, but I think that's more because they are meteors. Meteors have the outer shell, and then there's like resource deposits and stuff, you know, throughout the stone and, you know, on the inside, whatever, right? I think that's just kind of how Minior works. But I don't see like how they would have this energy of Mega Evolution and then not be able to at least somehow utilize that itself. It's like think about Terapagos. It's the source of terrestrialization. So of course it's got its terrestrial form, and then it's got its stellar form, right? You know, it's got all of that stuff. Whereas Minior is just kind of, or it doesn't have any correlation to Mega Evolution that's directly stated outside of these conspiracies, right? And the fact that Rayquaza could probably eat it to Mega Evolve, just because the energy. But of course Rayquaza can eat any meteor and have that same effect. So I don't know. Anyway, I think that was all the theories we're going to look at right now. Those were good. I like those. I love the theory of DEOXYS and Mew's DNA becoming Mewtwo. I think that's interesting. The idea of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee being in the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire timeline, I mean, that makes sense. That just makes sense. And we already kind of knew that. Again, it kind of those similar parallel universes with slight differences, like Yellow not having Archer, LGP having Archer. LGP has different protagonists, stuff like that. LGP has Meltan and Melmetal, you know. Obviously, it's just the fact it's a newer game, and they wanted to tie nods back to older characters and stuff like that, but still. If we want to talk about in-universe explanation, I think that's a cool way to go about it. But anyway, yeah. Let me know what y'all think about these conspiracies down in the comments below. Very interested in this. And yeah, I'll see you later and hope y'all enjoyed. Peace.